Hello, welcome to We'd Rather Be Reading. I'm Jerica.
And I'm Leah.
And actually, welcome back. It's been some time.
It has been some time. We've been too busy reading. I'm sorry.
We'd rather
apologize.
be reading.
We would rather
and that's
be,
what we have been doing.
We've been rather reading than talking to you. Let's be realistic. So we've actually wanted to give you a little update on our 2023 reading challenge because we're almost at the end of March when we're recording this. Well, this is, I'm now in the corporate world, so we're talking quarters here.
Yes, I do quarters as well.
We're doing quarters. So this is end of quarter one. So we're going to do a strong closing. I believe I can squeeze in another few books before the end of this quarter.
True.
You know, but so far, I set a goal for this year, honestly, of 110 books.
My goal was 120.
Yeah, well, I was kind to myself, and I've beaten my goal every year, so I keep just wanting to give myself a chance to
lower
beat it.
standards so that you just win every time.
Exactly, and I'm already at 43, so I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job, and I think I'm going to beat my 110, considering I have 3 quarters left of this year.
Exactly. I have read 32 books, and most of the books on this list are, in fact,
really bad.
Really bad. Yeah, disappointments, actually. I would say disappointments because there have been new releases of previous series that I have really liked. So Devney Perry's Eden's series, this is number 4, Jasper Vale came out, and it was all right. I gave it 4 stars, and when I give it 4 stars, it means it's okay, but it's not great.
Yeah.
And then Final Offer.
It's not like mine, where 4 stars is almost fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. No. I only have basically 3 stars in my rating. It's excellent, okay, and garbage. And that never goes under 3.
Yeah.
Anyways, I read Final Offer. This is the Dreamland Billionaire's 3rd installment by Lauren Asher. This was just way too content heavy. Mm-hmm. It was so much trauma and not a lot of romance of what we have been used to in the previous books. Mm-hmm. And then I read Elsie Silver. Love her. I would say she's one of my top favorite new authors. She's Canadian, also from Vancouver. And she has written one of my favorite romances of last year that is called Heartless. I think it might be one of my favorite of all times. And she has her 3rd one that came out now called Powerless. Mm-hmm. And it's also a character named Jasper, not to be confused with Devney Perry's Jasper. So many Jaspers. It's not that common.
Single Jasper book this year.
And that one also was a Friends to Lovers. And I talked to you about this. Mm-hmm. It bothered me because it was 19 years of friendship. And her wanting to be with him for the entire time. Mm-hmm. And him basically thinking she's too young, she's too mature, she's too rich, he's not good enough for her. Now he's a famous hockey player, and she's always been a super rich kid from this rich family. Mm-hmm. And even now that he's successful, he still thinks he's not good enough for her. So he just doesn't communicate, uses one word for every sentence. And it goes on so long before they have any romantic connection. And then you would expect the chemistry to be on fire since it's taken 19 years for this to happen. And for me, it was just you might as well stay family members.
Fair enough.
And then I read Christina Lauren's Dirty Rowdy Thing, which we've already talked about. I read this. You will hate this book so much. Lucy Score, which I love as an author. Mm-hmm. She has written the book The Things one. We never got over.
Things we never got over. Oh, yeah, but that one was bad.
You hated it. I liked it. You hated it. The second one came...
It suffered from all of this. Every guy is super hot and they're all in love with you. And this story is so implausible. It could never, ever happen in real life.
Oh, I love
it. It had evil twins. It had kidnapping plots. Yeah. It had 11-year-old kids that no one knew about and that just automatically were very happy to not see their mom and to live with their aunt that they never met before. Right. It had all of that crap.
So I read the second one called Things We Hide from the Light. And do you know what? The same problem of this kidnapping, mafia.
Wasn't it even the same person kidnapping?
Same. Yeah. It was the same issue in this book. But this book was even weirder than this 19-year friendship to lovers because this was his brother's college love. College what do you call it? Relationship.
But was this in the same? Is it the same? Like knock him out.
Yes, it's knock him out.
So
and
is it the brother, the police
brother.
officer?
Yes.
So he's getting in together with the first guy's college girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm already not happy with this.
No,
this is bad.
No, it was bad. It was bad.
Bad. Like, do they not like? I mean, fair enough. There are certain instances where like sisters can fall in love with the same guy and they might date both. I have the infamous story of my friends, the twins, who actually both were with the same guy at different times in their, you know. But you know, I don't think it's normal.
No, it's not normal.
And I mean, they were teenagers,
like,
so it was
get
also
your
like,
own. Stop trying to be me. Stop trying to date everyone I date. Like, ugh. Anyways, and then I read Tessa Bailey. As you know, Tessa Bailey from It Happened One Summer or this Hook, Line, and Sinker, and you really didn't like her.
I did not.
She has a new book and series. The series is called A Vine Mess. It's about a vineyard small town. And it's called Secretly Yours. And let me tell you, this had too much in it. And I've wrote to you about this book because I felt like the main characters had not Asperger's, but like they were on the spectrum. Like they had
Asperger's is not a thing anymore.
It's not a thing. I know. I knew it in my brain.
It's like you're
autism
just on the
spectrum.
I'm just on the spectrum.
But maybe they were okay. So they weren't like an identifiable anything. They were just on the spectrum. They both had lots of issues and that were helped by other people, and panic attacks that were helped by therapists and medicines, and the family knowing that you can't go away from the timeline or else it stresses the main male character out. And then he goes into this dark tailspin where he crashes. And this is like an autistic crash. Like everybody knows what that is. But the author didn't identify it. And okay, fine. You don't need to put a label on things. I don't think that that's important. But they tried to make him be this suave player with all of these
issues, like rules against.
And she was 29-year-old virgin.
Yeah, I mean it can happen.
29.
No, I mean I don't.
She's a gardener because her grandma's gardener because her grandma had to help her even get up in the mornings or else she wouldn't get up in the mornings. Like this is not a normal.
No. I read one of the best books, honestly, of this quarter. It's Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. She's the one who wrote Atlas 6, that series. And I picked this up because I found a new book talk with these two really hot girls talking about books. And they recommended this, both of them. And I was like, I like hot people and I like books, so I'm going to obviously read this. And it was excellent. It was so nice. And it's about the main girl who's bipolar, and the guy, I believe he's somewhere on the spectrum, like very functioning autistic, but but like he's very, very into theoretical maths, which I think if you spend all of your times being okay with thinking about problems that will never have a solution because you're a theoretical mathematician. I believe you probably, I mean, maybe you don't have to be on the spectrum to find this interesting, but I think it probably helps if you are.
And I love these spectrum relationships. I love bringing in not just everybody is 1000% superhuman, heroes, gorgeous, all the things. Like I love the realness of it as well. But I'd love it to be identified.
It was very, very real the way, and she actually ends this book, Olivia Blake, with a note from the author where she explains that she's basically bipolar, and this is not her story, but she writes from like experience and stuff. And I think it was very, very well. I mean, I think that's why it worked so well. Like the main character, she's just the way she has the relationship with people and a relationship to like sexual relationships and to her parents and to people judging her and, you know, all of this and that. It was very, very well done. I really enjoyed it. So I do recommend Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake.
I don't recommend any of the books I read.
I have some that I recommend, actually. I've done this year. We've talked a little bit already about what we've read this year. I started the year with rereading because I reread the Folk of the Air series because the Stolen Air came out, which was book one of the Stolen Air duology, which is another character from The Folk of the Air. It's his story going forward, which is really nice. And then I reread the Lost Hours, the Cassandra Clare books, Chain of Gold, Chain of Iron, and Chain of Thorn, because Chain of Thorn came out, and because I have a goldfish memory, I remembered none of the things that happened in the first two books. I had to reread.
It's super important to go back.
And honestly, these are books that I love, so it was nice to go back and reread. Nice. Like, I do enjoy rereading. And then in between there, I read this most excellent book, and I have talked about it before, Once There Were Wolves, by Charlotte McConaughey. And I cannot recommend this book enough. Like, I bought it for my mom. Like, I was like, you have to read this. I don't even care if you don't like it, you just have to read it, you know. I loved it. And then I took a little detour into romance, and we read the Wild Seasons, like The Sweet Filthy Boy and The Dirty Rowdy Things. We'd already talked about these books. And then I went back to my true love, which is Serena Bowen and, you know, him hockey playing gay guys, which was just like excellent. So I read him and Us, which is him too. And then I read Epic, which is him 2.5, which is a very short story. But it's just these I love Serena Bowen, I love Elle Kennedy, and I love the way they write. And so far I have not met a book of theirs that I don't like. So
I love that.
All good. Then I took a weird detour into the Carry On, the Simon Snow books, which is the fan fiction, which is very fun and lighthearted. And I really enjoyed those books. They were great. Read all 3. And I took a little turn back into this area here when TikTok introduced me to the term cozy fantasies, which we talked a little bit about. And I was like, I want to read a cozy fantasy. That sounds wonderful. It sounds like something you do with a cup of tea when it's raining outside. It's got magic, it's got supernatural elements, and it's just nice. I like that. You know,
an uncomplicated fantasy.
No, they can still be complicated, but it's not epic and war and all that. It's cozy.
Okay.
And one of the books that came up on the cozy fantasy recommended book was So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lukens, which was hilarious because this book literally starts when the epic quest is over. So it starts with them defeating the Vile One, and then the guy who the prophecy was all about, who had to defeat the Vile One, he's like, what do we do now? The prophecy's over. Like, what now? And they're like, you should probably take the crown so no one else takes it while we figure this out. And then he makes himself king, and then he has to figure out how to run a kingdom. Because it's like what happens after the epic battle is done.
Exactly.
Like, so he has to like learn to be a king.
Now I need to
like
do
he has
work
council, and, you know. And it was funny and cutesy. I mean, it wasn't a fantastically well written book, but it was a cozy fantasy and like trying to figure out. He has to find.
So TikTok was right for the first time ever.
Yeah,
okay.
He had to find a soulmate. So he had to he said, I shall try to woo my friends. One of them, these people that have been on this quest with me, should be the perfect person for me to be with for the rest of my life. And then he has all of these attempts to woo his friends. And it's great. It's fantastic. And I also read another cozy fantasy in The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. But we're going to talk about this book at another time. It was decent. Okay. And then I tried the romance book that you recommended, The Nuts, by Alice Clayton.
Did you listen to it?
I did.
Yeah, okay.
And I realized in listening to this that I really, 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 really hate reading books where the characters care about food.
Oh my god, I love it so much!
I just don't like cooking. This is like the bane of my everyday, trying to figure out what the frick we're gonna eat for dinner and making sure that there's enough food at home. All of this. Like, I hate all of these things because it is so much work and I hate it so much.
That's
and then reading
weird.
This book where the characters, like, she spends the entire book just talking about her fingers in the soil and feeling these vegetables.
I
and
get
fruit
so excited over this.
And I'm like, you guys,
everything is about gardening in that series, so you cannot listen to any more.
I stopped after book 1 because I was like, this is so boring. I cannot do it.
This Tessa Bailey book was also like, she's a gardener, so it was so much about the soil and the flowers and putting them here and the mess that becomes beautiful and everything like that. And you would have hated it, and I loved it. Mm-hmm. Oh, and there was a lot of talk about grapes and wine. I love it. I actually have on my bucket list, want to live and work at a vineyard for a short amount or a long part of time in my life. Like, if I was so privileged to own a vineyard at one point, bonus. If not, Like on vacation, a 1 week
We should
work.
go. Let's do it. Let's go vineyard wine tasting trip in like Italy or France or something like that. We can just do like a little. We won't drive because God,
no drive.
Bicycle. We'll ride. We'll get horses and we'll do a riding.
Oh, I love that.
Yes,
they have lots of horses there that aren't cared for so well. We need to care for them.
I'm just saying, we can go on like this horseback riding vineyard tour where you ride to.
I feel like we're making it up on our own, but let's just make it happen anyways, as I don't know what it
Does anyone
exists.
have any recommendations for horseback riding vineyard tours? Let us know.
Somewhere around the France, Italy area.
Spain would work too. Like, I'm okay with Spain. Yep, around there.
I also have on my bucket list to have champagne in Champagne, so we need to make our way there.
We'll ride there.
We'll make a little pit stop in Champagne.
We'll do like old-fashioned traveling with horseback. See how long it takes to go from this country to this on horseback. It's gonna be great.
Okay.
I think the absolute worst book that I read this quarter. You've actually also read it, but you did not warned me away from it, but not strongly enough. It was Hide and Seek by Layla Frost, and I gave this book a 1-star rating, and I actually wrote a review.
And do you know how much I didn't like this book? I didn't even put it on my Goodreads, and you were like, "What? How can you?" And I said, it wasn't worth it.
This is why you're at 32 books or 31, and I'm at 43.
But this was not recently. I read it like a couple of years ago.
I started my review with "This book is not good," just so people know how I really feel about it. But we had like an age gap where she was 20 and he was 34.
Okay.
And she's a virgin and he is protective of her to the point where he doesn't want anyone else to sleep with her, so it's better that he does it.
Okay.
You know, that kind of stuff. And he literally tells her, it's supposed to be like a sex education, I think, book. But he literally tells her, I don't do gentle, I only fuck hard. So not only is this poor girl a virgin, she's now going to be fucked hard right away.
Ouch.
Yeah, and this book mistakes abusive and possessive behavior as love and protection, which I hate.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think my eyes have not received this much, exercise from rolling in a while... as it did from reading this book, because and I kid you not, every single male character that shows up at any point in this book falls in love with her.
Same girl.
And every girl that shows up that is not her falls in love with him.
Oh.
Without fail.
Blah.
And like to the point where they would approach them and like try to sleep with them.
Okay.
And then they're also featured in tabloids when they start dating. Mm-hmm. And she's like a student that runs this bakery on the side, like cupcake bakery on the side. And he owns a car like body shop kind of thing. I was like, why are tabloids taking pictures of these people?
No.
I don't remember. And then there was a kidnapping story and this in there as well.
I remember
really,
so
really,
little
really
about
bad.
that book.
Oh, you're lucky.
It wasn't good.
It was really bad. Really bad. What's your worst one?
Oh, worst one?
Oh, you're like, there's so many to choose from. I don't know which is going to get this honor of being the absolute worst book of quarter one. And I mean, this Hide and Seek, I found it worse than American Queen, which I really didn't like.
Oh.
And I also found it worse than the Dark Wild Night, which was terrible. And Quickies. I would think I would rather read Quickies again than this Hide and Seek book.
This is the worst book. It's called Little Black Book. I don't know if I mentioned it on this project because I read it in, I think, January or maybe at the beginning of February. This is the actual synopsis of the book. Just the first line. My name's Sebastian Black and I want to buy you. I could have any woman I want, but I choose you. No relationship, just sex. Here's my offer. And let me tell you what happens in this book.
They have sex?
Yeah, they okay. They have sex. But she's like, he ends up being the one that murdered her parents.
What?
I know.
No, I'm not okay with that. Imagine that you sleep with someone and you're like, fuck, dude, you killed my parents.
It's like, so hires her to be his escort because she's sleeping in a car somewhere near the place where he owns. And she is with her, like, youngest brother because the parents have been murdered.
By him!
So he hires her as his escort. She's really not okay with it, but she needs money because she's so hard up because he killed her parents. And then she falls for him. But meanwhile, all of her inner monologue is like, this is not a good idea. And then you know what he does? He changes his personality 1,000%. Now he's like this caregiver taker, loves her so much.
Yeah.
Oh, no other woman is allowed to even come near him.
Wishes he would never have murdered her parents.
And he actually gets the person who co-murdered the parents with him to go to jail.
A co-murderer.
Yeah. And every woman he slept with before that is fired, so he doesn't have to like be around them because she's the only one he sees.
Yeah.
It was a garbage book, Leah. This was a garbage book. But you know it wasn't garbage books? These series that I have been listening to this week. I think I listened to 4 this week.
That's a lot.
Because they're so easy. They're like 6-hour books, which is so nice, right?
At regular speed or a little bit speeded up?
I would say regular speed. I don't think I sped them up. I don't remember it. But
I can't listen at regular speed anymore. Like when they started regular speed, I'm like, why are they speaking so slowly?
Listen, I never usually read books that have under 4 or under, let's say, 3.7 on Goodreads. Yeah. Because then I feel like it's not going to be like there. I don't know why, but I'm pretty harsh with that.
I feel like I understand what you're saying and I'm the same way, but I second guess myself sometimes because there are some books that I've read where I go back and I'm like, this was fantastic. And it's got like a 3-star on there because it's full of morons who don't understand this book. That's fantastic. Yeah. And who likes Colleen Hoover.
Oh my God. Yeah. Did you see Maggie's typewriter? I follow her on Goodreads and she read Verity by Colleen Hoover and her like, review of it was that her uncle-in-law made her read this. You're welcome. I've read it. This is my review. I've read it. And then on the comments under it are like, but what did you think about it? And she's like, I'm a professional. I'm not actually going to put my opinion here.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa. And then
Maggie.
the next comment was like, that was said enough. And I'm like, yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. Fuck you, Colleen Hoover. Yeah. Anyways, so I've been listening to the series by Annika Martin. And I got to say, you are hilarious, girl. These books are so funny. They're, of course, ridiculous. None of this would happen in real life. 0 chance. I'm not even talking like, okay, maybe you know where my friends had the secret twin throuple relationship. No, but this would just simply never happen because it's not plausible. There's no real reality in it. And I'm down with that. I'm here for it. I'm here for all of the nonsense. So these books are called Billionaires in Manhattan by Annika Martin, and every single book has the worst title and even hilarious cover, and I think it's on purpose, like she's being funny, you know? So the title...
Let's hope so. If
she's being
for
serious,
sure. No, we're like, oh, honey.
No, she's for sure being funny. Listen to this. Return Billionaire to Sender is about... This is number 5, okay? So we're like in...
All right, we're in deep.
We're in deep here. And so... Basically, there's this like co-op building where everyone lives like community styles in Manhattan, and they have like good rent, and that's what everyone cares about in Manhattan, right?
Yeah.
There's a billionaire that's going to buy the building to fix it. Now, all the people who live in the building are all pretty much all female characters that are meeting these billionaires. So this is like a hot spot housing for billionaire romances.
For your gold digger.
So she is a mail carrier, not a mailman, because that's not the word anymore. No. It's now called mail carrier. Okay. And this is her job, and she loves it, and she has no family or anything like that. Everyone's passed away, but she loves this community that she's in, and she loves being a mail carrier. 0 complaints, happy girl. And this guy is going to tear down the building and build, I don't know, something, whatever
like
it is.
Condos or something.
Something. Yeah. And as developers do. Like, that's literally his job. So, like, nothing against her. I'm just going to take this building, it's old, and develop it. Mm-hmm. Anyways, she decides to bring him video footage of the people living inside of this co-op so that he falls in love with them as much as she's in love with them. and he decides not to tear down the building. That's the whole plot of the story. But what actually happens is on her way to deliver this video message, she gets locked in an elevator that's broken with a girl that's supposed to be an empathy coach for these billionaire business owners.
All right.
And I can see that being a real job. I actually wouldn't mind that job, like trying to bring a little bit
the worst
personability
most,
to the
like unthankful job ever, because you're like, you need to feel empathy for these people, and these billionaires go like,
fired.
Why? I don't get it. Like,
but she's
why are they unhappy?
She is like fully broken down woman in this elevator, tells the mail carrier how much she hates her life and how this guy's just going to dick her around for a few weeks, and she hates her job. And she really wants to go and be a second, the English is a second language teacher in Tallinn, of all places. So it's like, okay, sure. Mm-hmm. So what does the mail carrier do? Listens to her, and then once they get out of the elevator, this girl's like, fuck it, I'm not gonna do this job, and she leaves. But she gives her card, like, let's stay in touch. So when she goes to deliver the message, they think that she's the empathy coach. No, okay. Now she plays the empathy coach.
Mistaken identity.
And she makes this poor billionaire guy watch 20 hours of film footage of them doing fucking nonsense.
How can you make someone watch 20 hours of anything? Like,
he has to have an hour a day allotted to this empathy coaching.
So
that's court mandated. It's court mandated. Anyways, it's so funny, Leah. I was like, cried laughing, out loud laughing, just not. And he's like, this is nonsense. And he picks up on things on it. He's like, oh, did you know they're in love with each other? She's like, what? No, pretending not to know the people in the film. Anyways, that's the nonsense. Like, it would never happen. They would never have fallen in love. He would be like, you're illegally here. This is fraud. You're fired. Maybe even jail time, But no, they fall in love. And guess what? She keeps the house. But she moves in with him anyway. So it's not like she lives in the building. But the building is still there. And then there's more.
To house new girls for new.
There's more books after that. And I'm just going to tell you their titles and not about them. They're called Just Not That Into Billionaires. And that's because she's like, she doesn't need it. She lives in the co-op and she's super happy. And she's just not that into it. Plus, all her other friends are now billionaires. So she's like, nah.
Fair enough.
And then the seventh one that just came out, I want to say like really recently, is called Butt Dialing the Billionaire. So hilarious. Annika Martin, I love you. Thank you for these books and turning my 2023 around, because as much as I wouldn't recommend all of these books to people, I would still talk about them and say, if you want a good laugh, light, easy romance that's gonna be unrealistic, you gotta listen to these. Also, there's sex, super hot spice in them too, but just hilarious.
Fair enough. Well, whereas I read one book that, like, I like to sometimes challenge myself with getting something that's really out of, like, my own perspective, in a way.
Yeah.
So I read this Love from A to Z book, which was, it's written by this Muslim author, and it's about a Muslim relationship, like, super religious Muslim, like, not progressive, or maybe progressive, but, like, very much following the rules of dating and all of this and that. Okay. And, I mean, it was good. There was bits I have issues with, but not because of Islam, because I am generally quite hateful towards all religions, in all honesty.
You don't like religion.
Like, I don't like preachy religious stuff, and I really genuinely don't like modesty as feminism, because I really struggle with this. And I think it's because I think it's equally bad to tell a woman what she can wear as what she cannot wear. So you should never tell a woman you have to wear this or you cannot wear this. Like, you should always be free to choose. And if you want to wear modest clothing, fine, go ahead. This is your choice. But rules set by some god somewhere, or, men's interpretation of old ass texts saying,
like, as long as it's your choice and not pushed on by somebody else, you mean?
Yeah, but, like, in general, like, I find if you're gonna have modesty rules in any culture, whatever, it should be equal for boys and girls, and it never ever is.
No, you're right.
Because men are never like, oh, you better cover up. Like, you see all of this, like, we dress modestly. Yeah, your women dress modestly. Your men are still freaking shirtless, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. And I find personally that I think that anything where your rules are based on protection from the male gaze, and therefore also actions taken by men towards women, can be like, well, you were tempting them by what you were wearing. Like, I find this to the convoluted thinking of putting responsibility on women because of, like, putting the responsibility of men's behavior on women, I think is wrong in general. Yeah. And that's it. But saying that, I did enjoy this book. I find it interesting to read about these things. And it was this American Muslim girl that went to see her aunt in Doha. So it was also interesting being in Qatar, which we read a lot about Qatar with the soccer, football World Cup being held there last year. And it is not a great country for...
I was there last year.
For human rights and whatnot, workers' rights in particular. It's not a great place for that. So yeah, it was very interesting, but I find these books to be a bit challenging as soon as they're religious, and not it's literally any religion. I'm like, nah. Doesn't matter which religion.
Meanwhile,
I just don't believe it.
If I open a book and listen to it and it's a British narrator, I'm like, bleh.
Which is a shame, because one of the other absolute best books I've read this quarter is Wayward by Emilia Hart.
And I can do it.
You haven't even tried it, Wayward, because I haven't sent it to you. But look at these reviews. Like, look at these ratings. Whoa. This book is fan-fucking-tastic.
Wow.
But I think if you're going to read this, you need to read it because it's British. It takes place in the UK, so
I have
it
no
needs
problem
to be
with that.
British.
Just the narrators, it just takes me away. I don't know why. Do you know what? I should have like a meditation specialist that's British and come and talk to me, and I would be like out of it in a second. Be the best like yoga partnership for me ever.
Well, Wayward is about witches, or it's about different generations of witches from the same family. And it's really good. Like, one is in 1619, one is in 2019, and one is in 1942. And it
skips so much forward.
But because you follow these three women from the same family.
Oh, okay.
And it's not it's more that their connection to nature, and they hear the wings of beetles and stuff like that.
Oh, I love that.
It is amazing.
The imagery is...
And like, at one point in this book, one of them curses a man with damselflies. It is the best fucking thing. Like, I kid you not, like, his house and him are like haunted by fucking damselflies, like around it forever, and he cannot get them out, and it like ruins his life. And it's so worth it. It is so fantastic. It is so great.
I actually have said multiple times in the past, in the summertime, because here in Sweden they don't have screens on any of their windows or doors, and the flies are just in my house nonstop. And I say, this is going to kill me now. My stress over the amount of flies in my house.
You just put screens on your windows and doors. I mean, nothing's stopping you.
Other than they don't exist. You have to build it. You have to literally make a screen.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, DIY Leah.
You're welcome.
Don't you know this is Sweden? We build all our own stuff.
We build our shit.
We are Vikings. And we don't need screens because the flies don't bother us here.
They do, but then you get a cat that chases them down. It's great. So what's the last book you read so far? What are you reading now, or just finished reading? What
I am reading currently now is a T.L. Swan's entire epilogue for the Miles series.
Yes, you were telling me about that.
And I'm very excited about it. And also, I have on my list of next to listen to a book called One Look, where LLC Silver recommended it. If you like Grumpy Sunshine, if you like Single Dad, I was like, I am all over this. Fastest purchase I ever made. $5 on Amazon.
Like, yes, please, and thank you.
I am ready for it.
I just finished the Elements of Cadence series, or is it Duology, by Rebecca Ross. And it's a Scottish story where there's magic and there's the fire and the wind. And it's back in the day, so like no electricity kind of thing. And about an island divided and coming together and overcoming. It was very good. Very, very good. And I am also currently reading this Groundhog Day book called See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I just started it, so I can't say anything about it yet. And I am reading Ace of Spades by Farida Bike Iyimide. And I'm really sorry about the pronunciation of that, but I really don't know what else to say. Which is very much about racism and targeting black people. And it's written by a British black woman, but the story on its own, it takes place in the United States, and it's very much about race. You don't understand that it's about race first, but it's kind of like Gossip Girly, but it's also a thriller where there's this private school in it's this private school in the States where 2 students get targeted by this anonymous like text blasts, and it keeps revealing things about them. And then the thing that they have in common is that they're both black, and they're the only black students at the school.
Okay.
And it's very good so far. I actually really enjoy it. But I have no idea who done it. I don't know who this anonymous person is. Like, I cannot figure it out. But it's very good. So I would recommend so far. Not done yet. I'm about halfway through.
All right. What should we read together next?
But I wanted you to read that Toronto Fae books, which you were just not on board, which you should be on board with, because this thing is like, if you like, and it's like all of the shit that you like, you should read this. So yeah, and it's not actually called the Toronto Fae books. It's called A Dark and Hollow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. It's just that it's about Fae who have their court in Toronto, which I figured you would like. You know, being Toronto person.
That's
and
true.
liking
I am a Toronto,
Fae.
and I do love Fae.
So
and do you know what I'm reading next?
I'm reading.
I don't know if you will read this. Maybe I need to read it a little bit to see if you will read it. But it is called Obsession: The Mate Games.
Oh, I hate it already. I hate it already. You're gonna have to read it, but I do not think I can.
It's amazing.
And next on my list, I want to read Icebreaker. Have you read Icebreaker? Icebreaker is also one of those TikTok books that keep coming up that you should.
Oh, I did read it.
I haven't read it.
It's about a hockey player and a figure skater, and let me tell you, that cover is more innocent than what's inside that book.
Yeah, no,
that book is sex on a stick. And you know what? He is a golden retriever.
Ugh, I hate golden retrievers. Okay, but I'm gonna read Icebreaker.
Listen to Icebreaker. List. I want to know. Let put it on now. I want to hear who it is.
I'm not gonna put it on.
But I no. read it, so I want to know who is the narrator. Let me look at it. Let me.
No. You can't.
Who narrates it? Because this is like
it's Elizabeth Louise and Tim Page.
Tim Page, okay, good, approved. He's gonna be great. I'm excited for you. Maybe I will re-listen to it since I read it.
That is on my list, and then The Grace Years, which is
I have not read that.
like The Handmaid's Tale and The Power. The Ballad of Never After is something I really want to read, but it's a sequel. To Once Upon a Broken Heart. So that's something that I wanted to read, but I don't think I could find Once Upon a Broken Heart.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about Icebreaker.
And then I want to read That Time I Got Drunk and Saved the Demon, which is a cozy fantasy.
Awesome.
And the Anatomy and Immortality, a love story.
Looks too important to... Too serious. I need my covers to have abs on them. Okay, everybody, thanks for listening, and we will talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
We'd Rather Be Reading is an original podcast by Jerika Seron and Leah Sanfö. The music for The Penguins, written and performed by David Allred from the album The Transition, courtesy of Erased Tapes. Please check him out on Spotify and check us out on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram at We'd Rather Be Reading and on Twitter at We'd Rather Read. You can also email us at we'dratherbereadingthepod@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.